Are you wondering how to know if you're choosing the right career? Or what to do if you've quit your job without a plan? Or have you started looking and are simply searching for a practical method to help you decide the right career and also make sure you avoid poor career choices? I'm sure you, like most others, would think of using the most common approach to this, which is basically starting by targeting the industry where you have experience, shortlisting jobs, filtering for your location and salary, and then matching the job description and then validating with your network and colleagues before you choose. But did you know that as per a recent survey, more than 70% of people who changed jobs regretted it, and a similar number said they felt trapped in their jobs? If this is the process that most people follow and most people feel regretful or trapped in their jobs, then don't you think that by using it, you might be falling into the same trap as everyone else? To help you avoid this, today I'd like to talk about the 5 most common traps that people tend to fall into when changing jobs and how to avoid them. You can also then go deeper into each trap to understand what it is and how to avoid it by clicking my individual video links on each trap, which are there in the description below or can be seen as part of the playlist on my channel. So, let's spend the next 10 minutes together and hopefully we can make sure you avoid the 70% who regret their career moves and instead find your path to success and happiness in your career. Hi guys, my name is Akshay Goenka and the team on this channel has learned how to make the right career choices the hard way. We've spent a decade and a half moving from being uninspired at early jobs to making drastic but successful career shifts and eventually getting to work at some of the most prestigious companies in the world. But we never had a channel like this to help. And to make sure that you do, we are documenting all the secrets we found to success and happiness in your career. So if you hit the subscribe button on this channel below, we can begin this journey towards a happy and successful you together. Before we get into the traps to avoid in deciding what to do next, remember that deciding to change careers or jobs is one of the most crucial decisions in your lives. So before we get into this, are you totally sure that you're making the right decision in thinking of moving on? Now, assuming that you are sure that you want to move on, let's get into the big 5 traps that hold us back from making successful career decisions. Before that, please do take out a pen and a paper or maybe open a blank note on your phone to write down your thoughts and reflections so you take something tangible away from the time that we spent together today. Let's go. The 5 big traps are the comfort zone trap, the subconscious imitation trap, the salary trap, the single career trap, and the narrow thinking trap. Wait, what? That sure is a lot of jargon. Even for me, and jargon is kind of my middle name. But I promise that in another few minutes, once I've explained each of these, this will be all you can think about for the rest of the day. First, let's get into the comfort zone trap. This is the tendency for us to try and do more of what we've done so far because we feel comfortable and safe and familiar in that zone. And for the rare folks who found their true calling in life, it makes sense to do more of that. But for everyone else who's still searching for what that is, this is the trap that tends to hold us back. For example, if you have some experience as a product leader at a consumer tech company, you're likely to feel most comfortable interviewing for product roles at other tech companies. And given your background, you will likely find a few that are happy to interview you and even make offers before you know it. But if your interest lies in other fields, shouldn't you be broadening your search and finding a way towards what you're truly passionate about? What's holding you back is your belief that you don't have any experience in those fields. So why even bother? Can you really get an interview for those kind of roles when you don't really match the job descriptions or the requirements? Well, the answer is that you can. And the secret to how to do that is to find this magical thing called a bridge. A bridge from where you are to where you want to be. Let's say that you want to be a venture capital investor in startups. Given your background in product management, it might seem disconnected, but if we look, there will always be a bridge. In this case, the bridge is actually quite simple. What you need to do is look for investment roles at venture capital companies that are focused on your industry, which in this case is consumer tech. You might not have the functional experience of investing, but you can definitely bring the industry experience in consumer tech in the startup space. In this case, it was quite simple, but sometimes the bridge is quite hard to find. What if instead of being an investor, you wanted to be, say, an advertising executive? Your whole life you trained in technology and coding and management and did really well, only to despair that it's all been in waste and you're missing out on what you truly love and could be incredible at, which is advertising. Well, despair not, because whilst it's harder, the bridge still exists. You have to find your own, but maybe it's an indirect two-step bridge. As a first step, you could start by leveraging your product experience and looking for product management roles at, say, ad tech companies, which make software for ad agencies. And then, after spending some time in the advertising space and industry, you build on this newfound industry experience and make a play for your dream role at an ad agency. In the middle of this journey, you can increase your odds of success by doing a few other things in parallel, like building a portfolio of ad campaign ideas online and gaining a social media following for it, which will make you stand out as a prospective candidate. Each of you watching will have to pause and think about how this applies to you. But the takeaway is simple. Don't get caught in the comfort zone trap and live a self-fulfilling prophecy of unhappiness. Figure out what you are truly passionate about and would be truly good at, and then find the bridge to how to get there. I have a detailed video on this finding and building these bridges to a career that you dream of. So if this is relevant to you, I'll leave a link to it up here and also down below in the description. Second, avoid the subconscious imitation trap. This tendency or behavior is based on the groundbreaking finding by French philosopher René Girard, posited that all desires are not intrinsic, that is your own, but in reality are actually external or extrinsic. Girard's insight was that we look to other people all the time and that they form models of desire for us. And at a subconscious level, we take cues from them without always knowing that we are doing it, and we tend to imitate their behaviors. In some cases, we know this and we do this explicitly and even sometimes celebrate it. Have you noticed that in the last few years, most men have got the same footballer haircut, short on the sides and combed neatly on the top? Clearly, they didn't wake up one day and dream this up. It's based on the fact that footballers, movie stars, influencers all started to get this cut at the same time. Or the fact that suddenly women have gone from wearing skinny jeans to flared jeans or wearing yoga pants every day. The founders who imitate Steve Jobs' famous outfit of a black turtleneck and jeans do it openly and with pride, though unfortunately some of them are more forgettable than others. Because in all these cases, people are imitating celebrities who aren't competition for us in any way and feel quite out of reach. We feel no shame in accepting this and talking about this on platforms like social media. But the subconscious imitation that you don't know about and will probably refuse to accept for a while, even if I directly pointed it out to you, is with people who are very much within your reach, your friends and peers and family. Let's take an example. Every one of us has that one friend who came to us one day and announced that they're going to quit their job and start up. They said they had a life-changing revelation where they woke up one day and realized their burning desire to build something of their own, and they had a few exciting ideas already. And while the decision may or may not be a good one, and that's a separate discussion for another video, one thing that you need to realize is that in many cases, this is not necessarily their own desire. It's possible this is a subconscious imitation, in that it's an imitation of what their peer group are doing. This happens over time. Every article in the news about a peer or a friend announcing their product launch, being interviewed on a podcast, or raising another round of funding that's extensively covered in the press has a small, almost imperceptible way of getting incepted in our brains as a desire. The desire to see the same success, gain the recognition and the social validation. Every best friend who you subconsciously always compared yourself with and who went on to start up has incepted this want in you. You just don't realize it. Ego and identity won't let you react to that fact in the moment. In fact, you may have ridiculed it or brushed it away as something which is a fad or a reckless decision at that time. But your brain slowly registers these extrinsic sources of desire over time, and one day when your ego can justify it as now being your own, it bubbles up to the surface disguised as purely objective, very independent, and you call it your own. Now, what does this mean for your job search? It means that you should try and step back and take an objective view of your desires. Are you investing in yourself and finding a bridge to a career which is both truly your passion and truly what you can be good at? Or are you running in the direction of other people's desires, your friends, your peer group, your parents, and calling it your own? If you find this trap interesting, I have a detailed video on the Subconscious Imitation Trap, which I'm going to link up here and also down below in the description, and will play as part of this playlist. Third is the salary trap. We get caught up in comparing salaries of jobs on offer without thinking about things like growth and wealth creation, which require not just the money from a salary, but also leverage and time. The most common and tangible metric we use to compare jobs is the annual salary. We look at job options and think things like, oh, this one offers 20% more salary than my current job, and think that it might be a good choice. But when you look at salaries, I want you to ask yourself 3 questions. How much does it effectively pay me per hour? How many hours does it allow me to do other things? And does it have a path to genuine wealth creation? Let me take an example of what I mean. If you are a recent business school graduate, you're possibly considering many options, which could include things like finance and technology. While some jobs in finance, like investment banking, might on paper pay more than some product or operations roles in technology, when you divide the number of hours you spend at work, which could be 12 or 14 or even 16 hours most days at investment banking, you'll realize that you are in effect being paid much less at an investment banking job per hour. And here's the clincher. It not only pays you less per hour, it also leaves you with much less time to invest in personal priorities like health and fitness and relationships, but also leaves you less time to build wealth via a second career like being a travel influencer or a musician or a writer or an online teacher. And beyond the money part of the salary, what about equity? Is there a chance that we delever your wealth creation from your own time by owning a small share in the business? Direct examples of this are small companies like fast growth startups to large companies like Google and Apple, which all offer their employees a piece of the business in the form of stock grants or ESOPs. Whilst the return ratio will vary based on the risk level, owning a share of the business will help you earn whilst you sleep, and hence be the leverage you need to create wealth without being too dependent on your salary or the time that you invest to earn it. There are other creative forms of this. For example, many investment funds will offer employees a piece of the fund earnings in what's called carry, but all of these are types of leverage that, when chosen right, help you create wealth and gain your financial freedom. This notion of leverage in wealth creation is potentially life-changing and can help you move away from working super hard for years only to see small increments in your salary and ensuring that you remain in this salary trap, to finding a path to genuine wealth creation in a very small amount of time. If you've just discovered this concept, don't waste any more time. I have an entire video on this, diving deeper, and I'll leave a link to it up here and down below in the description. Fourth is the single career trap, or being stuck in the thinking that we can only pursue one career at a time. Successful people don't do one thing at a time, so why should we? Take Barack Obama, for example. You'll think of him as a politician and eminent ex-president of the United States. But if you dig deeper and study his life, he was a researcher and a writer and a lawyer and a politician and a social worker, and many of them at the same time. Many business leaders are not only CXOs, but also known public speakers and members of eminent societies or public bodies, authors and entrepreneurs. Many Hollywood actors are also stand-up comedians, writers, investors, and fashion or retail business leaders. How are these individuals able to participate in so many careers in parallel, and why do they do it? Each requires a completely different mindset, different training, and different learning, and many might need you to start at the bottom again. But that didn't seem to deter anyone. If they can do it, then why can't we? Well, the answer is we can, but we don't think about it because in our circles it may not be as common. Without realizing it, we tend to behave in a similar way to our peers, and especially for people at a younger tenure in professional life, it's common to think of your job as the one thing that you do and use all of your other time for personal and social activities without thinking of alternate careers. It's common to believe that we all pick a career based on what we studied or learned. We call ourselves doctor or engineer or software developer or marketer or solicitor. and our mission is to dedicate all of our time to working in that one field. But this is the wrong approach. Having multiple careers not only helps you feel more fulfilled, but helps you avoid the money problem that holds us back from pursuing our passions. For example, if you wanted to quit your job to become a full-time musician, it might seem challenging to pay rent. But if you worked at a tech job at Apple or as a lawyer at a corporate, your primary job could help fund your secondary career in music for long enough till it becomes large enough to fund itself. And as you reflect, if you think that you are stuck in this kind of thinking, I have another video detailing the secret to building multiple careers for a life of truly fulfilling work, which I'll leave a link to up here and down below in the description. And finally, fifth is the narrow thinking trap. When we evaluate changing careers or jobs, we can be quite narrow in our thinking and tactical in defining the problem that we're really trying to solve. We think of things like, how do I get more salary? Or how do I change to a job that doesn't take up so much time? Without realizing that the problem statement is quite wrong. The real problem statement that we're all trying to solve is probably, how do I live a life of happiness and success via my career? And if you think about the problem like that, you realize that these are just some components of the overall problem you're trying to solve. Now, you have to think about things like how to create wealth in your life versus just about how much the salary is. You have to think about things like how much time you're going to get through this job to invest in your other careers and passions. You have to think about your personal priorities that matter to you, like where you want to live, who you want to be with, and so many other things. So how can we find a framework or a method to decide the right career, keeping in mind the right set of dimensions to be more comprehensive and solving the problem of being happy and successful? Well, I've developed the answer, but I've run out of time on this video. So just click the link here to skip to the video that details this practical, incredible framework to evaluate your next career choice, or continue on this playlist to go through each of these traps in detail, and in another 10 minutes together, we can make the right choice for your career to ensure a life of happiness and success. And before you go, don't forget to hit subscribe. See you in a second.